welcome to Off the Cuff, presented by Emerging Leader Society, a part of Spokane County United Way. My name is Kayleen. Off the Cuff gives us a glimpse into some of Spokane's most prominent leaders, careers, and passions. And I am here today with Tom Simpson with Ignite Northwest. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. So you're involved with Ignite Northwest and many other passions, it seems. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
So I have three primary roles here in Spokane. First is as CEO of Ignite Northwest, and at Ignite we attract, fund, enlighten, and mentor explosively growing companies in the Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, and Sandpoint region. Number two, I run the Spokane Angel Alliance, which is a membership organization of over 100 angel investors, and that group actively invests in emerging companies in the Spokane region. And then thirdly, I manage the Kickstart Angel Funds, which is a family of angel investment funds that invest in companies in our region.
So what are some of the ingredients that go into building healthy workplace culture and community?
Good question. I think the components of a successful culture would be communication, transparency, accountability. Those are the kind of the three things that I see. And also, no task is too small. I think everybody in the culture of an emerging company has to be willing to do anything that is necessary for the success of the organization, even if they believe the task is too small for them.
Well, that's some pretty good advice, and I know that one of the things we're all looking for is some leadership advice. Is there anything you wish you had known 20 years ago, 5 years ago, as you've been in our community?
You know, going back for me, let's say 40 years ago when I was in my 20s, I think the advice that I think people in that age bracket should embrace is swim your own lane. Do what you think is best for you. Follow your passion. Don't necessarily do what you believe is expected of you. Don't go through the motions. Life is not an audition. You get one chance to do what you want to do and follow your passion.
So did you have a circumstance where you did something that wasn't expected of you then?
Yeah, another good question. I grew up in a conservative family. My dad was an attorney here in Spokane, and I grew up kind of with the expectation, you know, you got a good job out of college and you kind of stuck with it and you worked for somebody else, being a company person, so to speak. And in the mid-90s, I was recruited back to Spokane to essentially what kind of paved the way for me to begin working for myself. And I left kind of a very comfortable position in Seattle, took a risk, and moved back to Spokane, which really set the stage for all the entrepreneurial things I've done since then. It was a risk, but I'm very glad I did it.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, I'm a big reader, so I have to ask, are you reading anything right now, or do you have any type of literature that helped mold you in your career?
You know, the type of books that I find that I gravitate to are stories about successful people, stories of entrepreneurs or business people or individuals that have accomplished something. I'm going to forget the name of the book I'm reading right now, but it's Chris Kopczynski here in Spokane, who is one of the world's most accomplished climbers. And he just published a book that I am currently reading about his life and his adventures.
Some local reading then.
Yep.
Very good. So I saw you speak about a year or two ago, and I know that you said specifically you don't like talking about failure, but rather what you've learned from failure. Can you say more about that?
I think failure really is an important attribute to anybody's career and to their progression in life. And it's not that I don't like to talk about failure, because I think it's important. I just don't really like to highlight failures I've had, particularly in a public forum. But you can learn a lot about your failures. And I once had a business venture that didn't turn out as well as expected. And really what I learned from that is when you go into something, set balanced expectations. Make sure that everyone involved fully understands the the good things that could come out of it, and potentially the unfortunate circumstances if something doesn't work out. So people know ahead of time, hey, I could win and I could lose. So, and that when they go into it with you, particularly in a business venture, as long as they can accept the downside, then at least you have fully warned them of the range of possibilities. So I've always learned when I start a new business, I want to make sure my partners know the best case and the worst case. And as long as I've telegraphed that each could happen, maybe with different probabilities, and if it doesn't work out, at least they knew that up front. Number two, what I've learned about the potential of failures is communicate well, communicate. Particularly in my world and starting companies and bringing in other investors, everybody knows that things don't always work out as well as potentially expected. So throughout the process, communicate the good, bad, and the ugly, such if it doesn't work out so well, along the way, you've highlighted that things aren't tracking the plan.
So as you lead people within your business or your company, how are you monitoring or gauging their performance?
My background initially was as a CPA, so I'm very financially oriented, and I follow tangible budgets and expectations. And so I really find that really good leaders also track themselves in a numerical, tangible way, whether it's a revenue forecast or bringing out a new product on time. And I think accountability is really important, that you're going to follow through on what you said you were going to do that could be measured. And I follow a no excuse policy. If you set out an objective goal, make it happen. Find a way to make it happen. Or come forward and say, that was the wrong goal. And we're going to change it, and it's on me because I didn't make it happen. And really good leaders find a way to either hit their goal or to come forward and say, that was the wrong path, and we're pivoting.
So how would you encourage perhaps someone that you're leading then who's maybe struggling with how to bring those issues to light or talk about some of their needs to management or to you as a leader?
In terms of coaching entrepreneurs, I've found that the biggest challenge many of them have is they try to boil the ocean. At the beginning of a year, for example, they set out too ambitious of a goals. Because they're entrepreneurs, they want to do so many different things. And that's very challenging to do, particularly at that early stage of a company's development. Instead, I try to get people to focus on just a handful or just a few, or maybe just one big goal, and to do it right and to prioritize so they don't get caught up in trying to do too many different things at once, and focus on the few that are really important and make those happen. And then number two, also recognize that, plans do in fact need to change. And if you're finding that things just aren't working or it's not just happening, don't be afraid to go back and pivot and make a change.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation with me today and giving of your time to be with us. Justin, I'll look at the camera now unless you need anything else from me.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and I'm delighted to be kind of included in this group of leaders in the Spokane region.
Okay.
All right, and then just closing lines there, and we're good to roll.
Okay. Thank you for.
Yes, let's do just so that it flows well.
Do you want me? Yeah. Do you want me to?
Say the closing thing, then Tom, if you want to say your closing remarks again.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I kinda
okay.
did that. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for watching. That was Off the Cuff, presented by Emerging Leaders Society, part of Spokane United Way.
And thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be a part of the group of leaders here in the Spokane region.